How's this month's crop of Blu-rays looking on the whole?
Well, we've got the Criterions and the Twilight Times. There's always some interesting things in the Scream and Shout factories. So,
Are they releasing the fourth Amityville Horror in a special 3 Blu-ray disc set this month?
Well, listen, you know, guys, we left off last month with the Gong Show movie being released, so that's where that's where we left off last month. So that gives you any indication.
And I felt that was quite exciting, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my colleagues, he got a review copy of it, and he reviewed it, and he gave it 1 star. He said it was as bad as the legend has.
Oh, well.
Preceded it. He said it was really...
I thought we were going to rediscover a drubbed classic.
He said it actually gets kind of funny during the last half hour, but a little too much, too little, too late. So anyway, so I'm still curious about it, though. I'm gonna have to check it out. But anyway, so
yeah, I'm a big J.P. Morgan fan.
Yeah.
And Jamie Farr too. So I have to see it.
Wow.
Well, all right. So
man, I don't think I've ever heard that phrase before in my life. I'm a big Jamie Farr fan. I don't think I've ever heard that.
I've never heard that said before in my life. So this is a great thing.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, all right. April 5th. We'll start there. And April 5th saw the release of Purple Plane. Not Purple Rain, Purple Plane.
Man.
What is that?
It's a Gregory Peck film from 1954. I couldn't resist leading off with that one. For
is that a Western?
Reasons.
It's a Western, isn't it?
It's the sequel to The Great War.
Okay.
And, which I've not seen that one either. But Robert Parrish directed, but Kino Lorber is issuing Purple Plane.
Oh yeah, it's a British film. That's right. Robert Parrish is the British director.
Yep.
And I think isn't he the same guy that gave us Kind Hearts and Coronets and?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like the scene where Gregory Peck punches Apollonia in that movie.
Or where he asked her to skinny dip.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So Arrow has seen fit. Arrow is a British. They're based out of Britain, but they've been edging into the United States market for a little bit. They're the guys who did those great special editions of The Long Goodbye and all those De Palma movies, Sisters and Obsession and all those. Terrific. If you've got a region-free player, I'd highly recommend getting them. But they've done The Black Cat from 1981, and that's directed by Lucio Fulci, that Italian guy known for those gore flicks. And so that's the Arrow, and that one is a U.S. release, even though they're still based out of Great Britain. So anyway, The Gallant Hours from Kino Lorber, that's another one. So a James Cagney, 1960 World War II thing. And I'm not really all that familiar with it, I must admit. But if you're a Cagney completist, there you go. Also, speaking of Scream Factory, The Hollow, which is, and that one is a fairly recent film, actually, that they're doing there. And so...
What is The Hollow? Do you know anything about The Hollow?
I'm not... It's just, let's see, it's got Joseph Mawley and directed by Corin Hardy. I'm not familiar with any of these guys, actually. But it's...
okay, well, you sold it well.
I'm not selling it very well.
As long as you told people it's a horror film, it has an audience.
It came out last year. It's a 2015 film.
That's right. It actually is, yeah. So,
oh, dear God.
Yeah, well, anyway, it's Shout Factory release, so, And I don't know if we want to mention this or not, but it's a new release. But I guess it is worth mentioning since it's a big talking point. Is Star Wars The Force Awakens, of course, came out April 5th. And I guess that's worth mentioning because there is that Laurent Boutsero documentary that's been playing at some of these film festivals that's included on there. And they say that's really good. I haven't had a chance to see it.
Can we talk about him for a second?
Yeah,
Lawrence
let's do.
Boutsero, who does.
I like that guy. Actually, I'm a big fan.
That guy, I've got more books by that guy than I care to admit. I mean,
yeah.
Well, here's my big complaint with it. First of all, just to explain to everybody, if you don't know who he is, he does most of the features. Like if there's a short documentary about a film on a DVD, 90% of the time it's directed by him, it seems like.
Yep.
And if it's not directed by him, it's directed by somebody who's aping him. Here's my big complaint with extras, these kind of documentaries on DVD, and that is that, okay, so I just finished watching the movie, okay? And now I want to watch the documentary. But the documentary is so larded up with scenes from the movie that I just watched that I get very irritated with it. Is that just me? Is that something that bothers anybody else?
I don't like that either. I'm kind of with you on that. I want to see the talking heads. I don't want to really repeat what I've just watched. I'm kind of in that camp.
I think that he overuses it. Like when the documentaries get going, they're going and they're good and everything, and you're getting good information, and then you get another minute or so of clips from the movie that sort of interrupt it, and I just wish that he would let up on that. Because
I know what you're talking about. It's almost like just a promotional short film, something you'd release to promote the actual movie, instead of something you watch to deepen your understanding of the movie after you've seen it.
Exactly.
I think from an educational or instructive viewpoint, nothing can beat a really good director commentary. And some directors do it really well, and others just narrate what you're watching. But I think that what we want those production films to be, those making of featurettes, we want them to be more instructive, like the commentaries, and they're generally not geared towards that.
That mystifies me, because I want to know. I mean, I've already bought the DVD. You can presume that I've already watched the movie numerous times. So why do I need to see those scenes again? I mean, just keep to the talking heads. Go to some background production stills, any footage that you might have of the thing being made, and then leave it at that. I mean,
but I think
we don't need
Star
to
Wars
see
from what I understand, Star Wars is different. I think the Star Wars feature is more based on what you find in a Fincher disc, like the making of the Social Network, where you really are like a fly on the wall during rehearsals and that kind of thing. That's my understanding of what that is.
Yeah,
so you haven't seen it yet? Okay.
No, I haven't.
Well,
I haven't gotten.
I haven't watched it either. I mean, I've heard.
Rick,
I've heard
have you watched
great
it yet?
about it.
The Star Wars one? No, I haven't. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
But those are
Boutsero
the best
is,
ones, though. The documentaries that do that. I mean, that Social Network is so exhaustive. You're like, okay, I know what it was like to film that movie. I got a great sense of it after the first 3 hours. Thank you.
And also, like, Paul Thomas Anderson is pretty good at it. At doing those too. So.
By the way, I just got to tell you, he's an impossible guest to get. I've been trying for years to get that Laurent Boutsero guy. Maybe it's because I don't know how to pronounce his name, why he won't come on the show, but it's impossible to get him. Okay, go ahead, Adam.
Probably because he's busy. He's making money.
Well, he's the guy. He's the guy that Spielberg and De Palma exclusively use for all of their, because they don't do commentaries. So they use him. They've been using him. I know, and they have all of the documentaries that you find on their discs are all exclusively done by him, so he has a good working relationship with both of them. And I'll tell you, he started in the Laserdisc days. They did that big box set of 1941, and that documentary on 1941 is also very exhaustive and very good. It's almost as long as the film, and if you want to know all about the production of 1941, it's replicated on the DVD, Blu-ray too as well.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But anyway, so moving right along, Prefontaine.
The Robert
directed by
Towne?
Steve James. Yeah, well, this is the Steve James directed.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So who's
The Robert
Prefontaine in this
Towne was
one?
Without Limits.
That's
with the Robert Towne.
Without Limits. Is
That's
that
the one, yeah.
Okay.
And that's the better movie too. But who's Prefontaine in this? Is it
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Arlie Ermey is in it, and Ed O'Neill and Amy Locane. So, yeah. I know Siskel and Ebert were big on that when it came out, I remember. But anyway,
I like Without Limits a little bit more because I think mainly because of Donald Sutherland. I thought he was superb in it.
Yeah, I mean, they're both good movies, but the Robert Towne one is the one that you lean towards. I remember, no one in their right mind when this came out that you needed two Prefontaine movies. That was like the...
Which is, always when that happens, that's just the weirdest...
But you would think two movies about Prefontaine, you're just like, wow. I mean, and then, you know what? They're both good movies. It's just the one by Robert Towne has the end
it's interesting. I read about the Robert Towne version. The Robert Towne version, Tom Cruise has a boner for Robert Towne. He has since his first Mission Impossible. But he knew that Robert Towne really wanted to do a Steve Prefontaine film, and he wanted Tom Cruise to star in it. And he said, "No, I don't want to star in it. I'm not that young anymore, and I don't feel that part." But he said, "I'll produce it for you." And then they went out and didn't they find was Billy Crudup Prefontaine in that one?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and he didn't want Donald Sutherland for that part. He really wanted Harrison Ford for the coach. And he resisted Donald Sutherland, but the studio insisted upon him. But by the end of the shoot, he was like, Sutherland was perfect, like exceeded everything that I had dreamed for that part. So
he's
little
superb
trivia.
in it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. Well, Journey to the Seventh Planet, from 1961. That's Kino Lorber release, science fiction there that John Agar, who appeared in a lot of those films around that time. He's in that one, and so let's see. Moving right along here, there's two more Lucio Fulci releases from Arrow Video. It's a box set here. Death Walks on High and Death Walks at Midnight. So those come as a double feature. If you're a Fulci
the whole
completist.
Lucio Fulci thing just totally escapes me. I don't really get it. I mean, I've only seen a few of them. I mean, I've seen like some of these Tomb of the Walking Dead, and the Beyond. I think he did the Beyond, which was also called Seven Doors of Death.
Right, that's the one. Yeah, that's true.
And that's probably the biggest one. Mm-hmm. And then he also did Zombie, right?
Yeah, he did Zombie. But I prefer all these Italian guys to what we have going on in the last 20, 30 years in this country. I won't lie to you. I mean,
isn't Fulci like? There's that big rivalry among film nerds between Fulci and Argento, right? And they say like two spaghetti sauce.
I think there is.
I'm sorry.
And there's probably Mario Bava comes into play there too.
Bava, right.
And there's probably a couple of others that we don't know about because we're not giallo nerds. Which I don't know if do you guys know what giallo is? That's Italian horror. So just making sure. But I will say this: you can never be sure of what's going to happen next in them. So there's a certain value in that because Zombie had this fight between a zombie and a shark. So
it's probably one of the greatest scenes in motion picture history.
Yeah.
And it's not a Roger Corman production. I mean, that's what's most surprising about it.
That's true. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll take a look at the Twilight Time slate for April, and there's some pretty decent titles here. Prayer for the Dying with Mickey Rourke is probably the least of them. Though it does have its charms, I guess. There's
that greasy hair. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Very underrated movie as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's compared to some of the other things they put out this month, I think, I'm not saying it's the worst thing, but compared to these other titles, I think you may agree. Cutter's Way, they issued this month also. With,
well, Cutter's Way is well ahead of The Prayer for the Dying. I mean,
yeah,
well ahead.
That's what I'm saying. As is Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, which they put out this month, and that has already been issued a couple of years ago. They pressed 3,000 of those, and they ran completely through that pressing, and so they've now pressed 3,000 more. And they say when this pressing is done, that's it. No more. So
that's the same thing with Cutter's Way as well.
Yeah, Cutter's Way 3,000, and that's it. It's done.
Wow,
man, I might have
it's
to
a big
get
reminder of. It's like a relic because for film geeks, it's a big reminder of a time when Michael Cimino was a responsible filmmaker.
Oh, yeah.
There was a time.
Yeah. So
I mean, Cutter's Way too. I mean, just to talk about Cutter's Way for a second, if you guys haven't seen that, is make it top priority because that is one of the great. I wouldn't just call it a thriller. It's not just that. It's also a character study. It's actually 3 character studies, and John Hurd.
Yeah.
Who's the lead in it is just so...
He's really good in it.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And Lisa Eichhorn, and of course the title character is played by Jeff Bridges. So, great Jack Nietzsche score. Beautiful Jordan Cronenweth, the guy who shot Stop Making Sense and Blade Runner and Peggy Sue Got Married. He's the photographer on it, and great cast of supporting characters. Character actors, terrific. Stephen Elliott is one of the is a great villain in it, and it is just fantastic.
I really miss Jack Nietzsche. I got to tell you, I miss Jack Nietzsche because if you think about the kinds of movies he composed. If you just watch the movies and you think, how can you put score to this? I mean, what score could possibly go to this? And he did the most impossible films and made them sound so distinctive. I mean, using what do you use, like a saw for Cuckoo's Nest?
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
He started off doing surf music back in the 60s for most specifically for the Endless Summer. Possibly
he
the
did
most famous
John
surf
Carpenter's
documentary.
Starman. Right?
Yeah, he did Starman. He did Officer and Gentleman.
Was Romancing the Stone
That's right.
his?
That's right.
No, Romancing the Stone was Alan Silvestri. Jewel of the Nile was Jack Nietzsche, wasn't it?
I think you're right. And he also did Paul Schrader's Hardcore.
Yeah, which I love that. I love that.
Another terrific score.
Maybe we should talk more about, Cutter's Way and Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, if nothing else, because...
All right, so another Twilight Time, Julia, with and this one has a commentary. And by the way, the Cutter's Way has a commentary track and isolated score track, and Julia has a commentary track with Jane Fonda, which is brand new, newly recorded. Yeah, cool. and it's a 4K transfer, by the way, too. So on all of these titles. So.
Well, it's a beautiful looking film. Isn't that Douglas Slocum that
just passed away?
It is. Yeah. So, In the French Style is the other title that Twilight Time saw fit to release with Gene Seberg, and that's the one I've never seen. That one. It's a dead spot for me. So
I don't know. I've never even heard of that, and I do like Gene Seberg. I find her fascinating in some ways, even though she's not always good in her movies, but she's always interesting to look at.
Yeah, one more Twilight Time. I forgot Chato's Land with Charles Bronson. That was the other one, which is pretty amazing for the supporting cast in that film. If you're a true movie geek, you are going to salivate at that that supporting cast in that film. I was just bowled over watching it when I watched the review disc. It was amazing because they're after Charles Bronson. He's Native American who shot the sheriff, and so they're trying to to kill him, and so but the villains are portrayed by Simon Oakland and Jack Palance and Ralph Waite and Richard Jordan and James Whitmore. Those are a few.
Wow.
Those are just a few. So
it
it's
sounds
amazing.
like the Native American version of First Blood.
Pretty much, but it was the first collaboration between Charles Bronson and Michael Winner. So it's worth. It's very worth. Yeah, it is. It's very worth seeing. I would highly recommend it. I'm not going to say it's anything earth-shattering, but for that casting, it's just it's unbelievable to see. And Ralph Waite is a really nasty villain in this movie, and it's so funny to see Ralph Waite, who was so, we know him from the Waltons and being so wholesome, and here he is just doing the most heinous things in this film.
Wow, he probably liked that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So anyway, so
right before he shoots Charles Bronson, he says, "Good night, John Boy."
That's good. Yeah. Well, it's just great to see all these, and I love Simon Oakland personally. I just thought he was a great actor who died way too soon, and anything he's in, I'm there.
Is he a British? He's a British actor, right?
No, he was.
No.
I think he was American born. He had an Italian look to him.
Right, I recognize him now.
He's from New York.
He was in a million things.
Yeah, he played Kolchak's boss on The Night Stalker, most notably for anybody who's a fan of 70s television. Kolchak, The Night Stalker.
He was the one that was stuck with that impossible scene in Psycho, the closing scene that everybody complains about, that big monologue.
Yeah.
Explaining the whole thing. Yeah.
And don't forget he's Officer Krupke in West Side Story. Mm-hmm. He had quite an interesting career. So anyway, Suspicion from Warner Archive, the Hitchcock film. They did that. They put that one out on April the 12th. And then we have, here's one I'm not sure anybody's clamoring for. Scream Factory issued Village of the Damned. And I'm not talking about the 1960 version either. I'm talking about the one with Christopher Reeve, and it was the last film that he shot before his accident, the equestrian accident.
Oh, really? That was the last one? Huh.
That was the last, yeah.
That did it.
That's interesting. I have to say, that might be one of the few John Carpenters that I have not watched, because...
Don't bother.
Is this where John Carpenter starts to really lose it, this movie?
I thought he lost it before this, but yeah, I mean, you could...
The movie's really bad. The movie's really bad. I mean, we all like Carpenter to various degrees. I mean, I like him. I know Rick really likes John Carpenter. But Village of the Damned is pretty bad.
It sucks balls.
That's not good.
The worst scene is Christopher Reeve, and it's such an overacted scene where he's looking at the little girl's dead eyes and he's screaming, "I want you to feel, damn it! I want you to feel!" And that movie has.
I'm already embarrassed.
That movie has Superman and Luke Skywalker in it. I mean, Mark Hamill's in that too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kirstie Alley, right? Isn't she?
Yeah, Star Trek 2.
What was Kirstie Alley?
Wow.
Yeah.
What a convergence.
Well, the story about that goes that Carpenter was supposed to remake Creature from the Black Lagoon in 1982, and then it fell apart, and he still owed Universal one more movie, and so that was because it was a two-picture deal. I think The Thing was the other one. And so he owed him another film, so that was the one he did. I think he was just going through the motions because he owed him a film, basically. But
wow.
Creature from the Black Lagoon sounds promising, though. That might have been interesting.
I know. I've read snippets about what he had planned for that, and that I would love to have seen a John Carpenter, especially an early '80s John Carpenter take on Creature from the Black Lagoon. That would have been
it would have had a great dynamic two-note score. It would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
So Only Angels Have Wings the Howard Hawks film. That's a Criterion release.
Oh, cool.
That's a very good movie.
Yeah, that made its way out there. And also A Ghost in the Shell, the anime classic. Anchor Bay put that one out.
Which they're getting ready to do the remake. I guess they're filming the remake of that now with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah,
I think
some controversy.
They're talking about controversy. I mean,
so
that's a very weird. What do you guys think about that? You know, I guess I should say there's a controversy out there because I guess the filmmakers experimented with. I don't think they went with it, but they experimented with making. Using digital effects to make Scarlett Johansson
look more Asian.
Yeah. And is that? Yeah. I guess. You know, doing that with makeup would be bad. So it's bad with.
I don't know.
It's a bad move. I mean, you have a lot of great first-rate Asian actresses who could play the part. Regardless of what Max Landis said last week, you do have a lot. What are they box office? We don't know. The problem is here. This is sort of like a thing where both sides are kind of wrong because the rest of the world really doesn't care one way or the other. This is sort of blown up. But here's the bottom line: do we need a live-action version of Ghost in the Shell when the anime is fine as it is? Do we really need? One can make the argument that Lucy is, the movie that Scarlett Johansson Lucy is kind of like the live-action Ghost in the Shell, if you want to. So do we really
think Ghost in the Shell, is one of those movies, okay, so at the top of the anime chain is things like Miyazaki and stuff like that, and then we get to Akira, and then I think Ghost in the Shell comes down a few notches down to where if you've seen that movie, you're probably a pretty big anime fan in general.
Yeah.
But some people are not anime fans, and I kind of include myself in that category, where I kind of like the probably the top 10 anime films, maybe 15, and then I start to drop off because I'm not interested in looking at that animation style very much.
Right. Well, I've seen, there was a Ghost in the Shell movie that came out, this is not a long time ago, but 10 or 12 years ago in the theater, a sequel, and it's fine. But I don't know if you really need to have a live-action version of it.
Yeah.
That's they're having this problem with Akira for the last 20 years. They keep trying to make a live-action
they've been trying
version.
to do that forever. Yeah.
Maybe we don't need it. I mean, it works fine as it is. I don't know if a live-action movie
I mean, my feeling about that kind of thing is we don't, you know what my feeling is. We don't need it.
Yeah, we don't need any movie.
But if you're going to make it right. I mean, that's my only.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, Adam.
I can watch a live action Ghost in the Shell, especially with Scarlett Johansson. Sorry, but
you just solved the thing. I mean, there was no need to whatever the process is. There was no need to do that.
Right. Why does the character?
I mean, my need comes down to whether or not she's naked in it. I mean, that will determine.
Well, we have two late career entries here from Anthony Perkins, and I do mean as in 2 years before his passing, Edge of Sanity and Destroyer. Yeah. So he's hamming it up in the Edge of. Go ahead. Yeah.
I know Edge of Insanity. I don't know Destroyer. Edge of Insanity is the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde retell.
That's the one. Yep. Mm-hmm. And Destroyer, he plays a movie director in that one. It's not kind of vague on the plot details, but it's a double feature. So if you buy Edge of Sanity, you get Destroyer as a bonus.
It's the only character scarier than Norman Bates. It's a movie director.
I remember reading the Psychotronic, Michael Weldon's Psychotronic video that used to come out every month back then, and he was saying that he looked like a horror movie version of Iggy Pop when he in the Edge of Sanity.
So he must have been pretty well into his sickness at that point. So.
He died not long after. But anyway, so have A Tale of Two Cities from Shout Factory, the 1980 version with Chris Sarandon, and there's that. And
was that like a TV movie or something?
I think it was. I believe it was. Yeah. But
okay.
And then we have a Bride of Reanimator from Arrow. So talk about your.
As always, the plethora of horror titles is unbelievable.
Yeah, but Reanimator is a worthy entry into the genre. But is Bride of Reanimator any good?
I never saw it. I got to be honest. I never did.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure what.
Is it also is it also Stuart Gordon? Wasn't Stuart Gordon the one that did the first one?
Yeah,
Yes.
Brian Yuzna directed the second one, I believe.
Oh,
okay. I don't think Gordon had anything to do with it, which is probably. I've heard that it has its moments, but it's overall kind of lackluster compared to the original. So.
Okay.
And then they did a third one too, after that. So there was like
a
trilogy of them.
Son of Reanimator.
Yeah. I can't remember the title of the third one, but there's 3 of them for sure. But
the mother-in-law.
Anyway, the mother-in-law Reanimator. So, we'll move on to other things, as in the Criterion Whit Stillman box set, which has Metropolitan Barcelona and the Last Days of Disco, which that was issued on the 19th. And they also issued Barcelona as a standalone disc. I'm not sure why they didn't issue the other two titles.
Well, they have done those. I mean, I've always wondered why it's taken so long to do Barcelona, because that's my favorite. My favorite Whit Stillman movie. So I will try to get. I think I'll probably just try to get the box set. But I mean,
yeah.
Well, there's one copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one. There's one cell. There's one cell, man.
So, Universal has issued the Doris Day Rock Hudson collection that has Lover Come Back, Send Me No Flowers, and Pillow Talk.
Huh.
So,
those are the best ones.
Yeah, the Doris Day and Rock Hudson Romantic Comedy Collection.
And they are funny. They're not. They're still clever, and Tony Randall is in at least 2 of them, and he's good in them. So I don't know. They're interesting relics, really, but brightly colored. So I guess they're probably all CinemaScope. So
they are.
That's neat. And at least in 1 or 2 of them, there's great split screen work occasionally, which I always love. So
very De Palma-esque. De Palma directing Doris Day and Rock Hudson. So are you a big fan of? Are you a big fan of Tony Randall as well, Dean?
I do like Tony Randall quite a bit.
Tony Randall and Jamie Farr.
Maybe won. I think he should have possibly won an Oscar for Seven Faces of Dr. Lau, which I think is Dr. Lowe, back in the 60s, where he plays 8 different characters.
Wow.
Or 7 different
characters. Well, from my perspective on Tony Randall, I think 1 character was more than enough. But I'll take your word for it.
Tony Randall was a great actor.
Yeah.
He was. He was mostly a stage actor, I think.
You know what the last thing he did was actually? I think the last thing he did was actually a Pacino play, because he ran a theater, and Pacino did a Bertolt Brecht play, and Tony Randall took a role in it, and that was an amazing production because it was Pacino, Tony Randall, Steve Buscemi, Philip Seymour Hoffman. It was a big play in New York. I think he died right after doing that play.
Wow.
See, they all respected Tony Randall.
Well, I'm lacking there. I'm sorry. That's a defect on my part. I'm sorry.
Well, we have the Joe Esterhaus. 4 years before he scripted Basic Instinct, he tried to do the same thing with Betrayed, with Deborah Winger and Tom Berenger.
I just watched that.
Hurd.
I just watched that again. Have you seen that before, Adam?
I've never seen it, actually. I remember when it came out, but I missed it.
Yeah. It's when Deborah Winger goes undercover and marries Tom Berenger, falls in love with him, but her original point was to go undercover and expose him as part of a white supremacy group.
Mm-hmm.
It's typical of Costa Gavras, the kind of
right, yeah.
later work after his most acclaimed stuff had already come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way. Music Box is comparable, but Music Box is far superior, I think.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think Betrayed
is
more obvious. It's less shaded than Music Box.
Well, how about the Sam Fuller film, Dead Pigeon on Beethoven Street? Kino Lorber's issuing that one from 1970.
Always been one of my favorite titles. I find that title fascinating. I've never seen it though. That's a 70s movie, isn't it?
1970, yeah. And here we have, Tom Holland's famous for directing Fright Night and Child's Play, but in between those two films, he made Fatal Beauty with Whoopi Goldberg and Sam Elliott. So that's getting issued.
Wait a minute. What movie did you just say? Did you just say Fatal Beauty?
Fatal Beauty, yes.
I just gave that Blu-ray to Rick.
I started to
Have you
say
watched
it's in
it
my
yet,
collection.
Rick?
Yes,
It's in your collection.
Well,
I mean, these are the meaningful gifts I give my best friend. Hey, Fatal Beauty, please take it off my hands, please.
How
Will you take it? I'm going to give him next month. It'll be a copy of Whoopi Goldberg's T-Rex movie on Blu-ray.
Oh,
There you go.
Oh.
yeah. Or Eddie, or Clara's Heart, or take your pick.
We could go on all night.
Yeah, we could go on all night. Yeah, okay. So Charles B. Pierce was the guy who directed The Legend of Boggy Creek and The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which are two films that kind of creeped me out as a kid. But he also made two non-horror films in between those two called Gray Eagle and Winter Hawk, and they've been issued on as a double feature from, again, Shout Factory. And I wish
that's pretty odd, isn't it?
I know, it is.
Two movies about Native American history.
Directed by Charles B. Pierce, nonetheless. Anyone looking to fill up their catalog with the film career of Amy Dolenz can add Miracle Beach to their into their shelf. Yeah, Miracle Beach from 1992, also with Dean Cameron and Alexis Arquette and Pat Morita and Martin Mull. So there you go.
Is that on Blu-ray or DVD?
It's Blu-ray. It's Blu-ray.
Wow, Blu-ray. Wow.
To see Amy in all of her clarity.
Yeah.
She did. Is she the same one that did She's Out of Control, right? With Tony Danza? Was that her first movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dean,
boy, that was bad.
Are you a big fan of Tony Danza?
No. I part company with Tony Danza now.
Okay.
Wow. Anyway, so we have Panic in Year Zero by Kino Lorber's putting that out. That's from 1962. With Ray Milland, Gene Hagen, and Frankie Avalon. What a cast.
Wow.
And Milland directed it, didn't he?
Panic in Year, I believe so.
Yeah, I think that was his, I don't know if it was his only directorial effort, but not bad. Not a bad movie.
Well, you guys referenced Kirstie Alley earlier. Sibling Rivalry is being issued with Carrie Fisher and Bill Pullman, directed by Carl Reiner.
I can sleep easy now, knowing that is on Blu-ray.
Well, Susan Slept Here with Dick Powell, Debbie Reynolds, and Francis, directed by Frank Tashlin. Now that Warner Archive is issuing that one.
Debbie Reynolds was nominated for an Oscar for that, for Best Actress.
Yeah. The Old Brenner film, directed by Sam Wanamaker, File of the Golden Goose from 1969. We have that. And The Fool, which is a fairly recent release. It's a foreign film that I thought it was an older film, but anyway, we'll move along. The Stuff from 1985.
That's a good movie. I like the one.
Yeah, Larry Cohen, Paul Sorvino, of course, Michael Moriarty. And there's that.
That's a really terrific satire.
And Garrett Morris. Isn't Garrett Morris in The Stuff?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
It's good. It's about killer yogurt.
Yeah, killer yogurt. That's right.
Yeah, it really is. You heard that right, folks.
So there's Scream Factory has done. Arrow put out the 3-disc box set of Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 a couple of years ago. Well, Scream Factory has. Yeah, I do too. Actually, I would be curious.
I don't even like the movie, but I want to see it. I mean, I want to see the extras on it, and I want to know what, just like that Pieces that just came out, that Rick and I were talking about Pieces. I want to know what a pristine print of Pieces looks like.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be just better if it was all cut up and mangled, had cigarette burns,
yeah,
and,
still
had
the
splices
charm
in it and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we have Yuli's Gold from
that's
the
a good
90s.
one.
That was well reviewed. And Uptown Girls, there's one right there.
I like that one too. Actually, that's the one with Brittany Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dakota Fanning, Heather Locklear.
Yeah, not bad actually. Very entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, that's there's Olive's putting that out, and they're also doing What's the Worst That Could Happen from 2001. And maybe this film.
That movie. The title refers to the movie.
Self-referential.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They might as well title the movie "Don't Waste Your Time." The title of the movie.
Yeah. So the 1985 film, The Holcraft Covenant with Michael Caine, where they're issuing that one, and also, let's see, just lost track here. Norm of the North. That might be a fairly...
Is that an animated film from earlier
it's a recent.
this year?
Yeah, that's Lionsgate. Yeah, it's putting that one out. So I think, moving right along, Death Becomes Her. The Zemeckis film. We've got that this coming Tuesday. That's another Shout Factory, as well as
Oscar-winning special effects in that.
Yeah, they've actually Shout Factory's got a lot of the rights to the Universal stuff, and they're doing the Raising Cain special edition in August.
Oh, right.
And,
which is surprising. In that De Palma documentary, he says that Raising Cain is one of 2 movies that he gets the most money from. Raising Cain, like the residuals from that.
That's very interesting.
You think it plays on TV a lot or something?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's weird. Okay.
That's interesting. Well, so Dolomite is being issued, and it's a 4K restoration being put out by Vinegar Syndrome with lots of
another
extras.
movie that would just be better all beat up instead of
yeah,
whatever.
So
they got to put everything out. So
Brief Encounter. That's the David Lean film from 1945. Criterion is issuing that one. And
one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yes, absolutely, and I got my review copy of that one, and it really looks good. They've done a great job with the transfer and everything.
Which one is that? I wasn't listening.
Brief Encounter.
Brief Encounter.
Brief Encounter.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it's such a brisk film too. It's less than 90 minutes, So that
and incredibly influential. I mean, so many people have done. I mean, you could even say that like a movie like Carol is kind of influenced by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just it's a movie that people forget how influential it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you have John Milius's 1973 film Dillinger. Arrow is issuing that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That is a really underrated too.
Yeah. And got a couple other things here. We're getting towards the end, but The Inspector, that's from 1969. That's I think it's a collection. I'm not sure if I think it's a collection of the Inspector cartoons, as in the Inspector Clouseau animated to Patty Friz-Freeling. So we've got that. Yeah, so it's...
When did they start doing those? God, I can hardly remember those. I remember Pink Panther, but I don't remember the Inspector Clouseau cartoons.
The date on it is 1969, so I guess it was late 60s, early 70s. But and then
acid
was
popular back then, so I think that's what was going on.
This is true. And then also this coming Tuesday, Screen Factory is issuing, and they announced this one. For some reason, I had the date back in January, and it was the incorrect date. But the correct date is this coming Tuesday for the movie SSSSS. Yeah. So
okay.
The film about the great character actor Strother Martin, who turns people into king cobras in that film, and Dirk Benedict. And there's actually featurettes on the disc, I'm told, one with Dirk Benedict reflecting on it, and Heather Menzies had the female lead in it. She played his daughter, and so she's contributed to the film, to the disc as well. So that's coming out Tuesday, and I'll have to admit that's a guilty pleasure for me. I believe I'm going to have to pick that one up. So, What from 1972 with Marcello Mastroianni, Hugh Griffith, directed by Roman Polanski. We can't.
And probably still the only Roman Polanski that I haven't seen.
That's probably the most obscure one.
Yeah. So,
and I have to admit, I've never gotten through Pirates.
Well, we don't blame you here.
We don't really.
That's really fine. I mean, we can forgive that.
And we'll leave this month on this note. Criterion has chosen to issue the Kennedy films of Robert Drew and Associates, and this is a collection that has all of the Robert Drew films the documentary films he made about John F. Kennedy, and they're very interesting because they're very cinema verite style films. Crisis, Faces of November, and Adventures on the New Frontier. So they're very
now are these films on the campaign trail or during his presidency?
Well, Primary was the movie that was on the campaign trail, so that's not included in the...
Primary is. I just saw it. Yes, it is. You're right.
Okay, so Primary is there. So, so Primary is the campaign trail. Crisis is the movie about the clash between the Kennedys and, what's his name, George, the guy down in Alabama.
Wallace.
George Wallace, right? God, George Wallace. That's the clash over letting the black kids into the university, and then Faces of November is about the aftermath of Kennedy's assassination, and then what's the last one? I don't know.
The last one was the Faces of November.
There wasn't another one? There was okay.
No, it was just those four. Yeah, Primary, Adventures in the New Frontier, Crisis, Faces of November, Adventures
in the New Frontier, I don't know what that one is.
Yeah.
And Faces of November, by the way, is a short, so it's like it's 30 minutes long or something. But the others are features, and they're very, very good. Like two of the best documentaries that have ever been made. So.
Well, what's interesting here is that they're also offering an alternate 26-minute cut of Primary on the disc as well, in addition to all the other extras. So if you haven't seen these films, you're wanting to check them out, this is a good opportunity to have them all in one place. So anyway, so there you go. That's the April Blu-ray release slate, and I guess that does it for this month.
Good.
Another month down.
Another month in the
another
books.
one down.
And of course, next month I'm sure we'll see the special 4K version of Graffiti Bridge.